Dogs and cats living together. That's hysteria. Wow! Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
What's up, you fantasy-loving freaks, and welcome back to the Lucid Nightmare. I'm your host, as always, Jay Schatzer, and today we've got an outlandish flick on our hands. It is Lucio Fulci's 1983 fantasy-infused flick. It is Conquest, and this one is surreal as hell and just completely weird. So let's get right into it. Here is Conquest. Conquest is an extremely surreal and abundantly brutal fantasy adventure flick, directed by Italian gore filmmaker Lucio Fulci, and cinematography by Alejandro Ulio and his never-ending fog machine. Lost in a haze of ethereal ambience and unbelievably cruel intentions, the production boasts a wonderfully bizarre cinema world and a constant barrage of strange and unusual creatures, which all help to fill out this crazy story with non-stop sword and sorcerer antics that only get more bizarre as the film moves along. Weird, wild, and completely unpredictable, Conquest is an obscure fantasy adventure that is truly unlike anything you've ever seen before. The film follows a fresh-faced and naive adventurer named Ilias, who wanders out into the world with bow in hand to rid the world of evil. Along the way, he meets a battle-hardened, nunchuck-wielding warrior named Mace, and the two of them take on the evil sorceress Okran and her godlike protector Zora, who are all hell-bent on destroying Ilias and obtaining his magical bow. With her army of beastmen and bloodthirsty mercenaries coming for their throats, can Ilias and Mace destroy the evil witch before she lays hands on the most powerful and ultimate weapon in the world, the mystical and magical bow and arrow? Tremendously savage and altogether strange, the cast of Conquest is as equally peculiar as its odd fantasy-infused world, and that's genuinely saying something. From muscle-bound heroes to scantily clad sexy antagonists, the world of Conquest is brimming with weird personality and outlandish characters, which gel nicely against the film's outstandingly otherworldly style and alien-like cinematic world. The evil miscreants, do-gooder heroes, and strange weirdos of this most outrageous of fantasy flicks are Andre Ochapinti as Ilias, the innocent young bowman thrust into a living, breathing, monstrous nightmare; George Rivero as Mace, a brash, nunchuck-wielding warrior whose expertise is survival; Sabrina Ciani as Okran, a sexy masked maniac and unrelentingly sadistic sorceress priestess; Conrado San Martin as Zora, a metallic godlike monster of a man controlled by the sensationally sinister Okran; and finally Gioia Scola as Uta, a young cave woman who falls for Ilias and his bow-wielding ways. With awkward charm and malicious intent, the cast does a pretty commendable job with the weird material on display, and they all inject a deadpan seriousness to the picture that blends rather well with the unusual content on screen. As bizarre and surreal as any fantasy movie in the genre, Conquest is a unique beast to say the least. Drenched in Italian sleaze and drowning in atmospheric dread and audacity, the world is an insanely deranged and demented one, filled with wondrously vile creatures and completely grotesque monsters, all showcased in low-budget splendor and practical proclivity. Absolutely unsettling and sleazy to the max, the entire movie is lambasted with grunge and grime, and constant displays of savagery, making for a pretty hardcore fantasy world that truly feels unique and ultimately a nightmare to experience firsthand. The hazy nature of the whole world seems something plucked from a fever dream, and the nonsensical narrative structure of the production results in keeping the viewer on their toes and never letting them catch a breath of sanity within the madness of the topsy-turvy story. Unquestionably directed by the Italian madman Lucio Fulci, and drowning in the filmmaker's trademark venomous style and logical plot threads, Conquest is definitely a unique beast to say the least, and one that you won't soon forget when it comes to remembering its warped fantasy-infused nightmare world or the unusual characters and creatures that inhabit it. In the end, Conquest is a mind-bogglingly weird fantasy-adventure flick that's without a doubt cruel and unusual, and filled with enough sleaze to please any warped sword and sorcerer weirdos. And there you have it, you fantasy-loving freaks. That is the crazy Italian adventure fantasy film brought to us by Lucio Fulci. That is Conquest. And what a freaking crazy film that is. Really unusual, tons of weird characters, and creatures, and just weird stuff in general. Weird stuff. But guys, that is it for me. Hope you enjoyed that one, and I hope you like what I'm doing here. If you do, please like and subscribe. And if you have time, leave a comment below because I'd love to hear from you. But until then, I'll see all of you at the next movie review. Take care.